What if Anakin had nightmares of becoming Darth Vader instead of Padme? Let's start the story during Revenge of the Sith, when Anakin was asleep with his wife. His dreams were no longer filled with images of Padme's imminent death, but rather, a shadowy figure emerged that he could not place. In the nightmare, he saw a towering warrior draped in black, a faceless mask concealing any trace of humanity, its breath echoing with a cold mechanical rhythm that seemed to drain life from everything around it. The figure strode through fire and ash, red lightsabers cutting down Jedi and clones alike, leaving only silence in its wake. Anakin stood frozen in the vision, unable to move, unable to intervene, as though he were both witness and prisoner to the destruction. He woke up gasping, his heart racing, with no understanding of who the dark figure was. But he needed answers, and just like the original timeline, he went to seek advice from Yoda. Inside the meditation chamber, Anakin detailed his vision to Yoda. It was of anger, hate, and the dark side surrounding this mechanical being. Yoda thought long and hard about these visions. Anakin dreaming of the dark side was not a good thing, and perhaps a sign he was already on the path towards it. The Force may simply be guiding him there. But he told Anakin not to worry, that visions like this come and go, and pass, but to be careful of the darkness inside of him. Anakin left with more questions than answers, but Yoda was fearful. That afternoon, he discusses Anakin's visions with Mace Windu and Ki-Adi-Mundi privately. Windu couldn't believe it, telling them he's worried. The Sith are gaining power. Could Anakin's visions be a sign that he will betray the Jedi and join the Sith? Yoda thinks on this, and tells them they must be careful. They cannot act on this, and must wait for the Force to reveal more. But Ki-Adi tells them all that they must not tell Obi-Wan, and keep this between them for the time being. That night, Anakin's vision returned, more vivid and unrelenting than before. Anakin once again found himself standing amid smoke and ruin, watching the same dark figure advance. This time, however, the warrior paused, lowering its crimson blade before reaching for the mask. With a hiss of escaping air, the black helm lifted away, and Anakin's heart froze as he saw his own face staring back at him, harder, older, and twisted with anger. Before he could comprehend the sight, the armored figure lunged forward, driving the lightsaber through his chest. Anakin jolted awake with a cry, clutching at his chest, the phantom pain still burning where the blade had struck. Later that morning was when Palpatine called for Anakin to come to his office. He offered Anakin an opportunity, stating that he would advocate for him to become his own personal representative on the Jedi Council. Anakin was ecstatic. Finally, he would become the rank of Master and be granted a seat on the Council, two things he believed he deserved. However, in this timeline, following Anakin revealing his dark side dreams to Yoda, they decided to deny him this position. This angered Skywalker. He had always been at odds with the Council, but now he believed they truly must hate him. He was the hero of the Clone War, with the most victories and lives saved out of any Jedi. It could not be understated that the Republic would not be in the position they are without him. And this is what Palpatine wanted. Anakin went to see Palpatine, who told Skywalker they were scared of him, scared of his power, and feared what he could do with it. He tells them that they would never allow Anakin to become a master and gain access to the Archive's restricted section, because there's no doubt there are things about the Force they're keeping from him. And if he learns all of this, the Council would not be able to control him anymore. Anakin thinks on this. Palpatine has a point. The Jedi have always put brakes on Anakin's progression, and he knows there are things about the Force they're not telling him. Now is when Palpatine ramps up his manipulation. He turns to Anakin, asking him to what extreme he believes the Council will go to once his child is born. Anakin's eyes went wide, and he didn't know what to say. Palpatine tells Anakin that he's the Chancellor. He knows everything that goes on around Coruscant. He's known for years about his and Padme's marriage, and when he found out she was pregnant, he knew he must be the father. But he lowers his gaze and tone, telling Anakin the Jedi will steal the child of the Chosen One from him. There's no way, Anakin says. They couldn't. He wouldn't let them. But Palpatine tells Anakin the Jedi have done more extreme things. How many younglings have they taken from their mother's grasp without a second thought, leaving the family to whom the child came from in worse off conditions? For example, slavery, hinting at the Jedi leaving Shmi on Tatooine. Anakin agrees with Palpatine, starting to panic. He doesn't know what he should do, but knows for certain he will not let the Jedi Council take his child. Palpatine tells Anakin not to worry, and leaves it with him. Palpatine's manipulation of Anakin is working. He has to push on his hatred towards the Council, as well as his fear of losing Padme, to pull him to the dark side. Palpatine begins the next and final step of his seduction. He does this by actively baiting the Jedi Council into finding out his identity. He gave the Jedi breadcrumbs that allowed them to trace a web of separatist dealings back through the industrial regions of Coruscant, where Sidious had been meeting his agents and using the environment as a cover. But from here, the Jedi tracked the trail even further, uncovering hidden tunnels from the industrial complex to 500 Republica, a luxury residential tower where Coruscant's elite politicians lived, but also a hidden tunnel towards Padme's senatorial apartment building. Palpatine did this because he knew the Council would bite on it. Yoda, Mace Windu, Ki-Adi-Mundi discussed this finding in secret. They've known for a while that Sidious was on Coruscant, but couldn't trace him. However, now they know he's here, and no doubt one of the elite politicians involved in politics. And with the war likely coming to an end soon, they must capture him as soon as possible. Yoda leaks this information to Bail Organa, who reveals he's been working alongside many senators, calling themselves the Delegation of 2000, and using their political influence to propose an amendment in the Senate. Bail does this himself, making the proposition in the Grand Chamber, calling for every member of the Senate to have a midichlorian test conducted to determine if anyone is force sensitive in the chamber. This is due to rumors that the Sith are here and in the very senatorial chamber. This had a mixture of support. However, instead of Palpatine deciding to block this, he allowed it, and the bill passed and the blood test would begin in a few days. Anakin met with Palpatine, and the Chancellor told him they have to act quickly, that now the Jedi will find out about his child, as midichlorians are transmitted antenatally, and questions what the Jedi Council will do with Padme. Skywalker asks what they should do, and Palpatine says they might have to go as far as take Padme off Coruscant, but he knows running is not in Anakin's nature. He asks Anakin if the Force has given him any guidance, as Anakin thinks on this, and describes his dreams of Vader to Palpatine as the only possible thing, the mechanical being, the dark side, the hatred, how he kills him at the end, wearing his own face. Palpatine manipulates Anakin here. He tells Skywalker that his dream has given him all of the answers this entire time. If he wants to defend his family, the Force is telling him he must embrace the dark side. Anakin as a Sith killing himself in the dream is symbolism referring to Anakin killing his past self and embracing the new. Anakin thinks on this and tells Palpatine he doesn't know if he can do this, but the Chancellor tells him the Jedi are relentless, that even he is unsure what they will do if they have the child of the Chosen One, questioning if they will even need Anakin anymore. He begs Anakin to embrace his vision, as this will be the only way to save Padme. Anakin thinks on this more, and eventually tells Palpatine he will do it, but doesn't know how to learn the dark side. Palpatine smiles and tells Skywalker that he can teach him, that he knows everything about the Force, even the nature of the dark side. And together, they can defeat the tyrannical Jedi, prevent them from taking Padme, and save his unborn child. Anakin takes a knee and pledges himself to Palpatine, the man who looked out for him ever since he arrived on Coruscant, and now when he needs him the most, he supports him. Together they execute Order 66 and strike at the Jedi Temple before they realize what's hit them. Side by side, Anakin and Palpatine stride through the Jedi Temple, the clone army flooding in behind them. Blades of blue and red carve through the halls, striking down younglings, knights and masters alike, as the temple burned with screams and blast of fire. With each fallen Jedi, Anakin felt the shadows tighten around him, the warmth of compassion fading beneath the cold surge of power. His strikes grew harsher, his movements more merciless, as if the dark side was no longer just a force he drew upon, but a presence consuming him, reshaping him into something unrecognizable. Together they defeat what members of the Council were on Coruscant, including Mace Windu and Kit Fisto, and take over the Senate, declaring the Jedi were making a tyrannical move against the Senate to take control and determine they were traitors and enemies of the galaxy. The Senate cheered, and Palpatine further described how with this, the war was over, and in the coming transitory period, to ensure peace and prosperity, the galaxy would be converted into the first galactic empire. Chaos erupted, drowning out those who opposed, and Palpatine's plans had finally come to fruition. Meanwhile, away from Coruscant, Yoda and Obi-Wan group up. They conclude they have to go to Coruscant immediately to defeat the Sith and prevent the establishment of the Empire. However, once reports come in that Anakin had assisted Palpatine in establishing the Empire and turned to the dark side, he knew it wouldn't be that simple. Yoda thought on this. He was right. Anakin's nightmares were a clue, and he didn't act on it. He wouldn't make that same mistake again. Instead of going to the Jedi Temple, which was heavily guarded, they decided to go straight to Padme's apartment and ask her what's going on. But she didn't know. She hadn't spoken to Anakin since everything had happened, but had been desperately calling him with no response. However, Palpatine anticipated this move. He and Anakin were hidden in the room next door, concealing their presence in the Force, listening closely. Yoda and Obi-Wan begged Padme to come with them, that with Anakin turning to the dark side, he and Palpatine will come for her and her child. She must come with them to ensure the baby of the Chosen One is safe to fight back against the Sith when the time is right. But that was all Anakin needed to hear. He and Palpatine looked at each other. The Emperor was right. The Jedi were here to take Padme and his child from him. Their same plan all along. Anakin and Palpatine come out of hiding and ignite their sabers. Yoda and Obi-Wan realize the trap they're in as ships whirl around the atmosphere and shoot down their transport with Bail Organa inside and dock whilst clones rush out one after the other. Padme screams at Anakin, pleading with him to stop this, but Anakin was already gone, replaced by the dark side inside of him, and ordered the clones to get her to safety, whilst the Sith rushed Yoda and Obi-Wan. The Jedi ignited their blades and defended with ferocity. Lightsabers were swung with deadly intent, while Sith lightning cracked across the apartment. The Sith got the first victory, as Obi-Wan was shot in the leg by a clone, and as he winced in pain, Palpatine spun, taking Kenobi's head from his shoulders. Anakin pounced on Yoda, who was jumping around the apartment. He looked for his escape, but Skywalker pulled him close with the Force and thrusted his saber through his chest, ending his life. Later that day, Anakin talked to Padme, telling her he's so happy she's safe, that he was able to save her from the Jedi before they stole her from him. He went to hug her, but she rejected this, saying she was disgusted with what Anakin had become, and didn't condone him helping Palpatine with the Empire. Anakin's anger rose. He told Padme he did this for her, their family, but she turns her head in silence, and Anakin storms out, leaving her in the jail cell. A couple of days later, she gave birth to Luke and Leia, and Anakin begged her to change her mind, that they can be together as a family, once and for all. But she firmly states, as long as Anakin was by Palpatine's side and consumed by the dark side, she could never love him. Anakin took the kids and left her in prison by herself. The Empire had begun, as Palpatine sent the clone army around the galaxy to ensure every system complied with their demands. Anakin stood by the Emperor's side as the Vice Emperor, and in this story, he was unburnt, whole, and thus able to reach his full potential. The dark side had a hold of him now, and there was no turning back. Over the following years, Anakin led the Inquisitors, hunting down the surviving Jedi around the galaxy. With this, his power increased, mastering dark side abilities as well as Sith alchemy from the glory days of the Sith Empire. He raised Luke and Leia with the help of droids until they reached 3 and started showing signs of using the Force. At the beginning of the Empire, he went to Padme often with the twins, but slowly he started to go less and less, as she always met him with silence and disgust, as he learned that he no longer needed her. The dark side replaced the love in his heart towards her, and he only needed the love he felt for his children. One day, as Anakin struck down a running Jedi, he felt it through the Force. This was the last one, the last surviving Jedi. He had done it, successfully purged the entire Jedi Order. He marched back to the Imperial Palace on Coruscant, and threw the lightsabers towards Palpatine. His master laughed, asking his apprentice if he also felt it through the Force. They were successful together, and had successfully hunted down and defeated the entirety of the Jedi Order. Silence took up the space between them, as they both acted in a flash, casting Sith lightning towards each other, which caught, locked, and finally exploded, sending each other flying backwards. They stood, lightsabers ignited, and rushed at each other with murderous intent.
Hey guys, over at Fantasy Sabers, for the entire month of September, we are giving away a free Xenopixel plastic saber with every order. Xenopixel sabers offer movie accurate sound, smooth swing effects, and customizable coloring, making now the perfect time to grab a free saber for an unbeatable Star Wars experience.